I was to say we will want to keep them for everyone who. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, at another table, we're gonna do a little icebreaker, like get to know people. Um, All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks a ton for being here. Thanks a ton for taking time. I know with this training and the safe sanctuaries that follows, it makes for a bit of a long Sunday, but it's nice to be together, to get on the same page, to align as we head into the year, which we're kicking off in just a couple weeks. Normally, we would have already kicked off and done training like in early August, and I am so thankful that we have now decided as a church to kick off in September because it gives us a lot more time in the back to school season to get prepared. And I'm really excited what's to come. We're going to start with just a super quick around the table icebreaker. Some of you might already know each other, but if you don't, we got a couple questions for you. Leslie, will you click the one with the? There we go. Around the table, if you are willing, would you share your name if people don't know each other? What grade you're going to be a small group leader for, and then really quickly, when or at what time did your like faith journey start? What age? What grade? You don't have to tell the whole story, but just give a general time frame and go. We're going to take 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. 12. We may, if there's like a day, Jenna's gonna do great girls at that hour. But if there's ever like, oh, we need coverage. Yeah. 30 seconds. All right. I hope it's helpful to maybe get a chance to chat with some new or familiar faces around the table. I'd love to know, just by like a show of hands, how many of you your faith journey started before you were 18? Okay. How many of you that if you were after 18 kind of wish it had started before you were 18? Like maybe you wish you had that opportunity as a younger student. Yeah, I think as we head into a year, many of us have that story or wish we maybe had opportunities to connect and grow in our faith when we were younger. What we get a chance to do as small group leaders is uh, get an opportunity to facilitate that for our students, whether in fifth grade or all the way up through our seniors or entering high school for the first time. Like we get a chance with them at a pivotal time to help introduce them into relationship with each other and also help introduce them into relationship with God and grow their faith. I mentioned this last year. I want to just briefly highlight it again because I think it's really helpful. And this is sort of youth culture in the church, like at a large scale. Um, for looking back, there's been a lot of research done on, as in like who is it working? There we go. Sweet. There's been a lot of research done as into like how youth kind of started their faith journey or got involved in churches and youth ministry. And there was a time when belief was step one. And then they would learn to behave, learn to like fit in. And then that was what would drive belonging. So you would have things like apologetics or like there was a lot of like trying to win youth with knowledge and with beliefs and trying to like maybe aim at conversion. And for a lot of time, like in the 70s, 80s, there was a season where that worked really well. A lot of research and data has shown that it has swung kind of to the exact opposite, that we first, a student needs to feel like they belong, like they can be their full selves, exactly who they are, that they can fit in, that they can find friends, that they can feel accepted and loved, well before they care at all about the belief side. That comes later. That in fact, as they learn to belong, they might do the things and participate in stuff and learn to be involved in the church and be serving and be leading before they even get around to starting to name and decide, is this actually what I believe, as they're testing it out. We have students all the time who will come and participate deeply in a group who will tell us straight up, I don't believe any of this stuff. And we're like, great, I'm glad you're here. That's totally fine. Because that is step one, is that we want you to belong. We want you to know that you are loved and cared for. And so what we do as a youth ministry is this exactly. We try to create safe spaces where students can belong so that they can then grow in the relationship with God and with other people. And we get a chance to do that. We get a chance to do it every Sunday, and we see it happen. There are tons and tons of stories where this is coming true. And so you, as a small group leader, are pretty integral to that vision. We have a big church so far, and we have a lot that I know will be involved who are not yet signed up, but we already have about 160 students who are signed up for small groups, meaning that they went out of their way to fill out a cumbersome registration and say, I want to be involved in this. There are plenty of people who will just show up and have not filled out the registration. There are plenty who will fill it out over the next couple weeks. That number I anticipate will be closer to 200, and that doesn't even figure in the different other ways that we might connect with students, whether through Sunday morning church or teen responders or other things. So we have a large ministry, a lot of students. And in a church like this, gone are the days, unfortunately, a little bit where like Leslie and I are going to know every student and know their story and know everything about them and us be their primary connection to church. In a ministry like this, you all as small group leaders are their first touch. You are the adult that they know, the adult that they trust, the one that they can turn to when they're struggling, the one that they look to when they want to have fun, when they have something going on, the one that they're going to invite to their games, the one that they're going to see in the donut room and run up to. Leslie and I will get a chance to build relationships with as many as we can and do our best to try to know every student, but the ones who are going to know them deeply are you all. And so, what is a small group leader? You, in essence, are a shepherd. You're a leader. You're a pastor. That those are heavy terms, and you might think, "What the heck? Like that is not." That feels like a lot, but just by your nature of being the consistent presence in their life, the ones who are there, who show up, who ask good questions, who come with a smile and come ready to help engage, the ones who see who's being quiet that day and pull them in, the ones who see that they're off on their own and make sure that they're included, and the ones who say, "Hey, stop talking while they're talking. Like, let's listen." The ones who help them learn these valuable lessons and skills. You get a chance to do that. So you are gonna pastor them, shepherd them, lead them. And then two things else I want to highlight. What is a small group leader? And then I'm going to turn it over to Leslie, who's going to share with us some super fun, awesome small group leader tips. Is supporter of parents. This is one thing that we have a blessing and a curse sometimes with some of our parents of kids in our small groups. And that we have earned a lot of trust with our families. I think that they trust our ministry. They trust we're going to keep kids safe. The kids are going to be well taken care of. And that can come with it a little bit of hands-offness on a Sunday where they drop in and we never see the parents because they trust what's going on. It's often new families who are like, coming in like, are you keeping my kids safe? What's going on? And we get a chance to like actually meet them and engage with them. But because we've been a really consistent ministry and you all have been fantastic and we are safe and good, parents often aren't as fully engaged. But what we get a chance to do as leaders is support them because we're going to get that student, if we're lucky, probably realistically, like the most engaged kid is going to come 3 out of 4 Sundays. Recent data is like 50% is like an engaged churchgoer at the moment. So we're maybe going to get them for 3 hours a month if we're lucky. And they're with their families all the other time, which is great. And so the best thing that we can do and support parents, support families however we can. I want our parents to know that they can trust you, that you are another adult who cares about their kid, that they can trust Leslie and I, that we care about their kid, so that they have people to lean on and we can reinforce things that are being learned at home. And in turn, the parents can reinforce some of the stuff that we're having a chance to teach. Like if we talk about a lesson or we talk about a faith component that we really want students to know and believe, the best way for that to happen is for parents to get excited about it and reinforce it in the home. And likewise, if parents are like, man, I'm a little worried about my kid, I don't know what's going on, to know that there are other adults who are looking out for them that they can turn to, that they can ask questions to, is just a huge weight lifted off. So I want us to be supporter of parents. And with that, I'm going to encourage, and I will make this as easy as possible. But I'm going to challenge all of our groups, all of our small groups, to contact the parents of the kids in your group within the first month of kicking off. So from September to October. And what that will look like is once we get all the registrations, I will send all of you a spreadsheet with all of your kids on it that has parent emails and phone numbers. However, that works best for you as a group. Like if you want to send a text out to them one by one and copy and paste it, or send a group message, or just send a big email introducing yourself. Maybe you know a lot of them, maybe you don't know any of them, but just introducing yourself, saying, "Hey, I'm your kid's small group leader for the year. I'm really excited to get to know them more. I wanted you to have my email or my phone number in case there's any way that we can better support you and the kid. And if you have questions, you're always welcome to reach out." I think by doing that, it starts that relationship off on a good foot, and they know that that line of communication is open. And please don't be discouraged when only a couple respond. It's going to happen. You're going to send it out. And not everyone is going to engage right away, but they'll know. They'll see it. They'll know that you are open and willing to communicate. And then on that kickoff Sunday, I am going to encourage in middle school especially, I am going to require that they get picked up. Not everyone will, but normally we let our middle school students like go and meet parents, but I'm going to require that parents come to get them, because what we're going to do is say, All right. Michelle and Haley's group is right over here in this room. And so when they end, parents have to come in and get their kid. And when they do, they'll get a chance to meet Michelle and Haley and say hello. I'm going to require all the parents to come in and hopefully introduce themselves and get to know you. And then the last thing that I think you get to do as a small group leader is be a champion of our ministry. Tell stories, share about what you're seeing, what you're experiencing, what you're learning. We have the blessing of this really amazing youth building. We have the curse of being somewhat removed from the larger church. That involves like not being seen or heard as much. And we have to work really, really hard to be sure we are telling the stories, to be sure that the congregation is seeing and knowing and hearing what's going on. And the very best way that you can like tell the stories and champion our ministry is do it any chance that you get. Every year I'll ask our small group leaders, who is somebody you would recommend to be a small group leader? Because people who've done it are the best at identifying who else could be a part of it. And so I'm excited and appreciate the ways that you continue to champion our ministry, both inside the lodge and inside the hub and inside our midtown space, but also like far beyond out inside the rest of the church, because it goes a long way. Really does help a lot. Leslie, I'm going to invite Leslie up. If you don't know Leslie, Leslie is our assistant director of student ministry. I'm the director. I should have mentioned that. Most of you know me. Leslie is going to give us a few small group tips. She has a lot of really great knowledge about leading a small group. But what she has that I do not have is the added value of having been a parent to kids who have been in small groups and been impacted by their leaders. Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Hope you guys had a good summer. Thanks for coming back. I know I recognize some faces, but some faces are new, so I'm excited to get to know y'all. Okay, so I want to introduce you to Charlie Campbell, the older gentleman in these pictures. He was at the church I was last at. He had volunteered in student ministry for 25 years. His kids were my age, and he was still volunteering every year in student ministry. And so, as it turned out, it was time for he would go from 6th grade to 12th grade, and then he'd start over, go 6th grade to 12th grade. And as it turned out, my son Jared got to be in his small group. Sorry, I'm out of breath. Whew. So at the top, you'll see that was our big mission trip. Charlie led that. They went to Kentucky every year and built like ramps and porches for people, stuff like that. And that was his 25th year. So everybody wore shirts with his face on it, and it was a big deal. He loved it. And here, so some of you may not know, I come from a divorced family, and when we were going through our divorce, Jared was in Charlie's youth group. Jared's my son, and Charlie showed up not just for Jared, but for me. I remember in this picture with sunglasses, I was standing out in the parking lot crying, and he was like, "Honey, put those sunglasses on. We're going to church." And so he wore his sunglasses into church with me the whole service and just sat with me. Now, and as Jared's small group leader, he loved me, and I really appreciated that. He showed up to Jared's football games. He took Jared to ice cream. He went golfing with him. He just showed up all the time for Jared because he knew he needed that extra love. And I'm gonna try not to cry. Charlie was diagnosed with cancer during this time, and he introduced him to what that was like. He did not shy away from it. Those 8th grade boys went through chemo. They went through scary times, and they watched him die. And he never lost his hope. And he really taught my kids to trust God and to show up. And I can't tell you how important small group leaders are as a mom. I'm sorry to be crying. I didn't think I would. But Charlie Campbell is the model for me as a small group leader. Okay, some quick things. Be present. Show up randomly, mentally, and predictably. Show up as much as you can. I know there's weeks you're not going to be able to come. That happens. But the kids will the more consistent you are, the kids will notice that. They'll start to trust you. And so when you are there every week, they notice. They notice that. Show up mentally. Be prepared. Know what we're talking about this week. Know them. That's really special. Kids are talking about stuff I don't even know. They're talking about sigma and alpha and all these things. I don't know what they're talking about, but I go home and I research it. I watch TikTok. I try to figure it out so that I come back and I'm relating to them. They know that. They notice that. They know that a 43-year-old woman's not on TikTok. They know she's not going to know about Sigma and what Roblox is and Sims and whatever else. Like, listen to them, listen to what they like, and go figure it out. Come back so you can talk to them, relate to them. That will be random for them. That an adult likes them. Okay. Create a safe place. None of us will ever actually see God. We see people. They will see God in you. How you treat people, how you lead them, how you treat the group. The way you shepherd their group is godly, and they'll see that in you. They're going to ask you questions that you're not going to know the answer to. This is Bible stuff. You're not all theologians. So when they ask you a question, it's okay to go, I don't know. I'm going to have to ask. I'm going to have to go figure that out. They're not looking for you to know the answer. They're looking for you to just say, like, I don't know. I don't know either. Let's go figure it out. Let's open the Bible and look what it says. It's okay to not know. Creating a safe place is another thing that's really important. Don't be shocked by what they tell you. Don't blink, because they might tell you some really off the wall stuff. You might be freaking out in your head, but okay, tell me more about that, and then, you can, you know, dissect that later with, us or whatever, but don't be surprised by what they say. They're testing you. Can they handle me? So don't be surprised. Model inclusion. We'll talk a lot about that, but the way that you treat everybody in the group, model it for them. Another thing that I notice is there's always a kid that talks the most, that answers all the questions. Ask, okay, thank you, Johnny. Now, Sally, what do you think? Like, invite them into the conversation. It's your role. You're the leader. Invite them into the conversation. And that kid may not enjoy it, but at least they feel like they were included into the conversation. And then the last thing is move them out. There's always a next step, even just for us. We all have next steps in faith. Middle school, high school kids, there's college, there's high school, there's serving opportunities. There's things that the kids are needing to look forward to, and that's our job to make it exciting for them. It's something that we can model as well. So move them out to something. What are you all looking forward to? Let's do that. Like, you're going to high school next year. Yay. Like, get them excited. How can we serve together as a group? Teach them to make the next step as you model it. And that's it. Thank you guys for letting me cry like a baby, but thank you for what you do. It does matter. What you do matters. And I just really appreciate it.
All right, I've got a couple really quick tools for your being a small group leader. Here are some tools that we have to help you. We've got the small group leader handbook, which is in the binder we gave. It is if you are a repeat small group leader, it's very similar. I just want to highlight a few things. We are not going to go through this handbook fully. This is the first time getting it. I would definitely recommend take a look. I think that there's some really helpful stuff. In its full entirety. There's some good resources in here, like icebreaker questions, or what do I do if a kid's not talking, or some safety things. There's some good encouraging stuff, but the few things that I would say are very worth highlighting that are super helpful is these two calendars. We've got a youth ministry calendar and then the tentative curriculum calendar. There is some flexibility or room for these to change. And one thing that we pride ourselves on is trying to communicate really well what is coming up and inviting you all to. The curriculum calendar is what we're covering on a Sunday morning in those small groups. The youth ministry calendar on the left is a mix of things, but largely our events, which take place kind of outside of the Sunday morning space. That tentative curriculum calendar will tell you what we're maybe talking about for middle school, what we're talking about for high school, what the series is roughly about. But then on the programming notes, it'll also tell you like, oh, there is a fall retreat that weekend, or oh, we're also unloading pumpkins that day. So you can see it kind of across the board what is going on that Sunday. In also in your booklet, we gave you these little calendar magnets that have like our main event our main event uh, dates. Love for you to stick on. We're giving all these to parents, and we'll have another one for the spring. And then lastly, I want to highlight in the back of the Smart Group Leader Handbook is we got some really great resources from our Mosaic ministry, which I'm going to invite our friend Sam up to share about in just a minute. But we've got a handout here called Embracing Disabilities. That's a couple pages that is super duper helpful. And then in the very back, we didn't get it like printed and stuffed into the things in time, so we tucked it in the back pocket, is a responding to behaviors with kids to behaviors in kids with special needs. So specifically like engagement strategies if that are there and the resources available to you. One of the things that I'm most proud of with our church at the moment is the way that our Mosaic ministry is growing and the ways that we are creating spaces where all students can belong and be a part of it. And Crystal and her team have done a great job of like doing that so well that stories are spreading, and families who maybe have felt at different times like I'm not sure our kid's going to be able to thrive in a youth group setting are saying, you know, we think we can do it, and we want to be a part of it. And so you will have students in your small group who have some sort of need of varying levels. And so we've got a great team who are like full of great resources. One of them is our very own Sam. So Sam, if you want to come on up. Sam is as a youth small group leader who's a part of our Mosaic ministry. And so I'm going to turn it over to Sam. He's going to guide us through a few things as we consider students with disabilities and other needs. And I'm going to brag on Sam for a quick second. I got an email from a parent of a new student who's not really been involved before, who emailed me to tell me she's signing her kid up because she met Sam at an event. And because of the way that Sam talked to her about what youth ministry was like and how that student could be involved, like she felt comfortable enough to send her kid over to the lodge. Yeah, just because of who you are and the conversation you had with her, and was like, "Can't she be in Sam's group?" And I was like, "Well, she's like younger, and Sam kind of has a little bit older group, so but she will get to interact with Sam. Sam is there. He's floating. He does a great job of like including all the kiddos on a Sunday morning, and the parent was thrilled. So give it up for Sam. Sam, thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sam Flood. I am a 7th grade small group leader. Currently a business teacher at Lawrence North High School, but previously I worked in special education. I was a high school job coach and middle school resource teacher for 4 years. And I'm on the autism spectrum myself. Um, Basically, guys, what I want to talk to you about is ways to make kids feel included because it's really important, especially at this age, that kids who are different feel like they belong, feel like they're included in church. So the first thing I want to talk about is neurodiversity. Neurodiversity means basically your brain is wired a little bit differently. It can be someone who's on the autism spectrum. It can be attention deficit disorder. It can be cognitive disabilities. You want to be patient with these kids because they perceive things a little bit differently than other kids do. Hello? Okay. So the key thing I can tell you with this is be patient. A kid with autism, kids with autism are very literal. So you can't use a lot of sarcasm. You can't joke around with them as much as you can necessarily with a kid who's neurotypical. And kids with autism tend to be very repetitive. So they may repeat themselves, they may ramble. Just be patient with that. There are ways to gently redirect a kid, get them back on task. That's great, Tyler. But let's get back to the task. Let's get back to the conversation we're having. Just because a kid doesn't seem like they're engaged doesn't mean they're not engaged. Leah is my co-leader. Leah and I have a couple of neurodiverse kiddos in our group. One of them sits on the floor under the rocking chair in the lounge, and at first glance, it would seem like he's not participating, but he hears pretty much everything we say, and he is engaged and he's listening. So don't think because a kid is not making eye contact with you or sitting facing you even that they're not listening. Another thing I want to bring up is stimming behaviors. We all do it, but people who are neurodiverse tend to do this more than others. Stimming behaviors are repetitive, self-soothing behaviors when somebody is overstimulated, when they're feeling overwhelmed. A common one that I do is some of you who know me in here might have seen me clasp my hands together like this. So if a kid is exhibiting a repetitive behavior, it could be that they're overstimulated and just need a break. What I've done with the kiddos in our group over the past 2 years is I'll just pull them aside, pull them out in the hallway or into the lounge when the group's in here, give them a few minutes to themselves. Just be as patient as you can possibly be. Kids with attention deficit disorder oftentimes have trouble focusing. So a lot of times what I recommend, I do this at school. Does everybody know what an IEP is? Okay. When I get IEPs, when I have kids with attention deficit disorder at school, what I'll do is I'll give them a task in the classroom. Okay, you're going to hand out the worksheets, or you're going to make sure everybody's got a pencil. There's not as many tasks in this setting, but you can just give that kid something to do to occupy themselves. The fidgets are great for kids with autism or the stimming behaviors, and kids with ADHD. It gives them something to occupy themselves, helps them to focus. With kids with mobility challenges, I would suggest, I don't know, Travis, do we have any kids with mobility challenges this year? I would suggest maybe meet on the first floor so you don't have to navigate the elevator or the stairs. With mental health challenges, if a child confides something to you, that's because they trust you. They are opening up to you. But keep in mind, Indiana state law dictates that we are mandated reporters. So if they confide that they are being abused or their safety is at risk, state law says you have to report that to authorities. Or you could face legal consequences yourself. And if something like that happens, I would suggest just defer to Travis or Leslie about that. With intellectual cognitive disabilities, just keep things simple for the child. just keep it as simple as you can. Don't be afraid to rephrase things. Try to teach them, teach them individually. And with kids who are hearing impaired, make sure you, when you're interacting with a person who is deaf, you look directly at them. Because a lot of times kids who are deaf rely on lip reading to communicate. And it can be seen as a sign of disrespect to a person who is hearing impaired if you don't look them in the eye like you would anyone else. Does anybody have any questions for me? Yeah. Yes. And guys, when in doubt, ask. Claire's a special education teacher. I've been a special education teacher. We are going to be in this space every Sunday. We both are neurodiverse, so we have a unique understanding that other educators don't. And if we can't help, then Crystal is an excellent resource. And I am happy to help in any way that I can. Sorry if I rambled. Anybody have any questions?
That was great. Super great job, Sam. Thank you. Yeah, as Sam mentioned, Crystal's email and phone are there if you have any like specific challenges. Crystal is in the back. Give it up for Crystal in the back. Yeah. Immediately, like tangible resources that were mentioned, right outside this door to the left is a little cart that has some like fidgets and headphones, like in case students have like auditory sensitivities during like the game time, which might get a little loud, or an invite night where there's maybe music. There's some stuff always right there. There's stuff more in the lodge office. There's everything from pens and paper and fidgets. In addition to like those types of resources, at the beginning of our small group time, Crystal will provide us with like a folder for everyone in your group who has listed some sort of need or thing that would be aware of that'd be helpful for you to know. That way you can, it'll be a confidential, it'll be labeled that way, but that way you can read through it and you're not surprised by anything. We will have the hopefully, if there is need, we'll have buddies who can kind of float around on Sunday and particularly give some extra support if there's a student who needs it. And then lastly, on our registration, we had asked if students were interested in a special, like kind of alternative classroom small group setting beyond participating in one of these small groups, if they would like a special kind of mosaic small group, that is an option. So we're in the process of discerning if that is going to be a need, but it may also be an option. Anything else you want to add? That'd be great. Yep. Great. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. I've got a couple final notes, and then yeah, and then we'll move on. Just a quick note on safety. Wanted to run through really quick if you are in this building or in the hub, and we don't have any midtown people, so I'll leave that one out. What to do in the event of one of these scenarios, unfortunately. If there's a fire and we are in the lodge, the goal would be to leave, and we would gather over, kind of like if the fire is here in the lodge, we would gather over on the other side of the Maj, like outside of door 16, outside of the hub. We'd gather in that little area, make sure we have everybody. There are, so long as you're not upstairs, a number of ways outside of this building. If you're upstairs, they kind of all lead right into the center, hence the building plan. But there are a lot of exterior doors. A preference would be that you would be in charge of your group, make sure you have everyone from your group, and get to that area. If you're in the high school hub or over in the main building when a fire were to happen, you would, I think, in that case, we would probably, with our students, do the opposite. You'd bring them over here. We'd gather, make sure we have all of our people. If there is something over in the main building, like there's a fire, the kids ministry actually evacuates to the lodge. And so we would put all of our middle school students and leaders on one floor and all the kids and their leaders on another floor. And then we lock the front doors, and we will check out a kid essentially one by one by one. What they don't want having happen is grandma grabbed a kid from the line, and now we're looking at our list of everybody and we're missing somebody. And so we kind of really, if it happens in the main building on a Sunday morning, the kids will come over here and we'll essentially lock the building down and make sure we have everybody and check them out one by one. In the event of bad weather, if it's like we're looking at like a tornado or something like that, so long it is far enough away, we would relocate over to the main building. This building is not great for weather. There's a lot of windows. It's open. If in the event that there was when we relocate over the main building, the kids ministry hallway is kind of like a bomb shelter. Like it was built in the 50s. It feels like a bomb shelter. It is like solid interior wall. There's some good spaces over there. If we happen to be here when something like that happens, the first floor bathrooms are not big, but that is kind of best space number one. This hallway is an interior or like stairwell. It's kind of like an interior space. It's not ideal, but then the bathrooms actually upstairs on the second floor also are honestly our best spaces. They're not a lot, but that's what we have. So we renovate. Yes. It might not, but maybe it will. Yeah, that'd be a good stairwell, honestly. In the event of an active shooter, God forbid, the common mantra is run, hide, fight. So we have inside the office, right, like I can point it out to you, but right inside the office, around the corner by that like front desk area, there is taped to the wall a blue button. If you press and hold that button for more than a second, they'll dispatch the police here in a hurry. It is a panic button. It is meant for that purpose. I labeled it panic button. Somebody we have some personal experience. It's been pressed. So now it is labeled. It says panic button. It's true. It's true. It does work. Yes. So in that event, we will lock down on the building and give clear communication based on what we know. But it is part of why we are for the upstairs specifically adding in another stairwell for fire and active shooter and weather, is that right now all of them dump kind of into the same central area if you're upstairs. Now again, there are a lot of exterior doors, and run, hide, and fight being the sort of main principle. If something were happening at the main building and we got word of that by the way of our radios, I would gather our group if we were here and go out these doors. There is a boardwalk that leads to a grassy area that actually we own kind of out into this neighborhood, and we would spill out the back and get as far away as possible, and reconvene over there. Yeah. hopefully not something we will ever need, but good to know if possible. You heard the building campaign update, so I won't actually go much into that other than to say the lodge is step one on the plan. They're going to start building the storage building and then immediately doing work on that lodge area. And I am not yet 100% sure how that is going to affect our Sunday morning flow and what that will mean and what rooms will be available and not available right away. But I do know that we are step one, and I think their goal would be to start on that in January. So it'd be mid-year that we would get rolling on that. In addition, I think Stephen was going through really quick. In addition to a stairwell that will be put basically in that garage area and built out, they're going to add the addition of 2 to 3 additional small group spaces on each floor. Because right now, we've got a lot of rooms that are like they're not big enough or they're not small enough. So sometimes when we have all our kids in here, we are bursting at the seams. That's part of this idea of bringing down this wall and putting in a removable wall so that we can make this a bigger space if we need it. But then also, if you go to any of these big spaces, it's tough for them to feel like a small group space because it's a big room and we're fitting lots of people in there. It's hard to hear. So we're going to create a handful of other smaller group spaces, which I'm really excited about. Final few thoughts, and then I'll dismiss this for Safe Sanctuaries. Safe Sanctuaries is something that is annual that we have to kind of go through. Is our child, youth, and vulnerable adult protection policy. And right after this, if you've never done Safe Sanctuaries, there will be a full course kicking off in the fellowship hall. That full course will last about an hour. If you've done it before, I'll be leading a refresher course in the Great Hall, which is where we had our lunch. We can all kind of walk over, and that will last about 30 minutes. You will also, we require background checks on file every 2 years. So our administrative assistant, Samantha, will be looking through to figure out like who don't we have that or who's expiring soon. And then you will be prompted via email essentially to fill out a background check. You don't need to worry about it until we prompt you. Like we're going to make sure that everybody has what they need. We kick off on September the 8th. For middle school, that is going to happen during your hour, 9:30 and 11. We're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be a great chance for you to get to know your group and get started on the right foot. And hopefully parents will come in and get to know you. For high school, it will also happen during the hour that you will be leading your group. And I'll be working with you really intently, high school leaders, over the next week or two to plan what would you want to do with your group. Because what we're going to do is resource or equip you to gather and then go if you would like. So like maybe your group wants to go and get Starbucks during the hour, or go and do a scavenger hunt at Target, or go and do putt-putt, or go and do something like that. We're going to work with you in your group to kind of make it what you want during your hour. We've got events coming up in September. We'll have a middle school invite night, amazing race, and then a high school outing to Birdie's putt-putt in Westfield, which will be a ton of fun. As small group leaders, it is not expected that you are at these events. The middle school ones are Friday nights. The high school ones are Sunday afternoon. However, it is a great opportunity to build relationships with your kids, to like create some memories outside of the Sunday experience in ways that are really, really valuable. It helps us a lot. And it also, like, especially if they know that other people in their group are going or their leaders are going, they're more likely to want to show up and know that they'll know somebody. Besides, they're also a ton of fun. And then I wrote down current needs for leaders before Jenna agreed to be our 5th grade girls leader. So we actually are looking pretty decent as far as like having all of our groups filled, which is really exciting. But if you know somebody who would love to be a small group leader or love to be on our events team, or you think would be just like, maybe they don't want to do it every week, but they'd be a great sub, please let me know. I'd love to include them. I'm a big believer in more adults is better, and more kids, more adults who care about the kids and can show up, the better. Any questions? I saw your hand. That would be for the high school groups. For the middle school group, we'll do kickoff like here at the lodge with your kids. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I would love to have high schoolers. Let me know. and we'll figure out the time. Yeah. Cool. That's great. I think you'd be great at it. And then, yeah, we'll get it plugged into the group that makes the most sense. But yeah. Yeah, it was in February. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, all of that is in the little event thing. We don't have planned too many middle school off-site outings during the school year this year. Like we don't have an all youth retreat this year. We're bringing back our high school ski retreat, which we'll do kind of on an every other year type basis. We'll do our overnighter, which is a mix of staying here and going off-site. And then we'll have a couple invite nights at our Midtown campus, which will be a lot of fun. But then the summer dates are there as well. We'll have middle school mayhem, high school camp. One thing that we believe we are working on, it's just not confirmed, so it's not named specifically, but our high school students will be going back on an international trip to Belize. That same week, we're going to offer an all youth domestic mission trip also for students in grades 5th through 12th who aren't a part of that international trip. Or sorry, no, thank you. 6th through 12th. You have to have been a 6th grade. Yeah. Through outgoing. Yeah. Um, I would say, yeah, that's a good question that we should clarify. As I say, usually we do allow the incoming freshmen. Yeah. Great. Perfect. If you have any other questions, please feel free to find me. Otherwise, I think I'm late to lead a Safe Sanctuaries refresher course, so I'm sure they're chilling. Really, really appreciate you coming. Make sure you grab your bag and all the things. If you need to do Safe Sanctuaries, if you've not done it recently in the last year, we can head on over to the Great Hall.